Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Fishing is Therapy, man. We excited to bring you this, man. We've been excited about this all week, man. But hey guys, it's your
Yeah.
host Chris, and I'm here with none other than the notorious Sunfish Assassin. That's George right there. George, what's up?
Hey guys, how you doing? So glad to be here. Yeah, I've been excited about it all week. Ready to start talking about doing some gar fishing. It's something we've gotten into in the last few months pretty heavily, and we become addicted to it, I would say. So
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. We definitely want to come in here, dispel some myths, provide some education, talk about long-nosed gar fishing as a sport. We're gonna show you guys how we target the gar, setups, rigs. We got life-size models and stuff. Sunfish Assassin George has his over there too. So we're gonna dive right in, guys. All right, we're gonna let a couple of people join in. I see it's two people in here already. Thanks so much for joining in. Drop a comment in the chat, say what's up. We definitely appreciate everyone for joining. We're gonna get ready to talk about some long nose gar. So of course our topic right now is, so you were told long nose gar is a trash fish, right? So let's go ahead and just ask the question right now. Let's ask the Sunfish Assassin. Is long nose gar a trash fish? Why or why
absolutely,
not?
absolutely not. But as we know from talking with each other, I grew up with a stigma that that's exactly what they were. I was told they were
Yeah.
poisonous if you ate them. They would kill you if you ate them, and they were just trash fish. And if you catch one, you basically throw him on the bank and just kill him.
Wow.
Same way with the bowfin, same way, you know. But I have come to learn in the last couple of years that that is exactly wrong. Um, they are very fun. They're a very good sport fish to catch. I would say. Um, I'll put them up there with any other fish. Um,
What?
and as far as eating them, they're freaking delicious to eat. They're exciting to catch. So what more can I say about them?
Yeah.
It's why.
Steve is in the chat in the comments. Steve Batista says, "Sup guys? What's up, Steve? What's up, man? Stick around. Let's contribute to the conversation. Let me know what's your thoughts. This long nose guard trash fish. Let us know. Let us know. Yeah. All right. So, to me, is long nose guard trash fish. For the longest time, I thought so as well. So I come from the Bay Area. I have a lot of family in the South, but in the Bay Area, equivalent to long nose gar, or in California, equivalent to long nose gar is carp, right? The common grass carp. Everyone says the trash fish. I never caught it. Well, I caught them and threw them back. I never tried them because I heard the same thing. They're sweaty. They taste like dirt. They're trash. So when I moved to Georgia, I hear the same thing. Long nose gar are trash fish. And I see them on my kayak, right? And I just pass over them like, man, look like a log or whatever, right? Like, okay, whatever, who cares? And I just move on because I hear about them being a trash fish. So let's drill down into that, all right? But let's first start with why are we talking about this? How did we get into long nose gar fishing? All right. Let me ask you, Sunfish Assassin, George, how did you get started long nose gar fishing?
All right, so I was fishing down at the Hudson River a couple of years ago. Me and Alexander,
Yeah,
which is the river I caught the Bartram's bass in. Catching new species, catching creek chubs. Never caught those before. Just
yeah.
a whole bunch of different fish in probably a year. So we're down there fishing, and Alexander says, "I see a fish." And I'm like, "Well, what did it look like?" And he's like, "It had a really long nose." I'm like, "Nah, it wasn't a gar." Because in the little spot we were fishing, I didn't think they were down there. But
Right.
sure enough, I go stand on a rock and look down. There's a long nose gar right there below me, and
Wow.
I try to catch it, and I don't really go about it the right way because it never caught one. And of course, they run with it, and we got off 2 3 times. So I said I looked up a couple videos online, and at that time, I was watching the real Jedi. His name's Kenny.
Yeah.
He uh, he lives in Southwest Georgia, and
Uh-huh.
I watched a couple of videos him catching them, and he's talking about using small hooks and letting them run with the bait, and I tried that, and
Right.
it took like 2 or 3 more tries, but it didn't take but 1 or 2 trips, and we caught the first one. We've been hooked ever since.
Wow. Wow. Now
You
that's a
know,
good story right there. That's a good one. So for me, yes, how I got started long nose gar fishing right here. You see this guy, Sunfish, or should I go this way? Sunfish Assassin got me into it. We met last year around the winter, fall to winter transition time, and we were catching white bass, and going after panfish, things of that nature. And then we started talking about Longnose Gar. I forget how it came about, but I think we were talking about difficult fish to catch because he was going down to the Hudson River, and
No,
he was like, "Man,
no.
what?
I told you about the gar I caught in the Coosa River where we were
That's
white
good.
bass fishing.
That's how you caught it. That's how it started. And actually, is it this fish right here? Look,
Yep,
this is how
yep.
it looked. This is the size right here, guys. So, he was telling me about that. I was watching this video, and I'm like, Longnose Gar. He grabbed it, it broke the line, he threw it on the bank. I'm like, man, like I would like to try to target one of them. I've seen them around, but I didn't know anything about them. So from there on, we set out to try to see if we could catch them. And I think the first place we tried with me, I tried at the not at the Coosa, at Lake Allatoona, and it was during a camping trip for my birthday weekend. No, it wasn't my birthday. I think it was a little bit. No, my birthday weekend.
Yeah.
We went out there and we tried for 3 days to catch them, and then on the last day, we see him. On the second day, we see fish jumping. We're like, are those carp? Are those like what are those? Keeps jumping, and eventually we realized that they should be gar. We made a game plan, come out the last day and just go right after them. We see him jump in. We start throwing little bluegills, small bluegills, and we just start throwing it on a bobber rig, and boom. I saw my first gar, ran with it, and I had the fever ever since. Thank you, Sunfish Assassin. Yeah, guys. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the gar background and the history. All right, George. Go ahead and give us a little bit of background about Longnose Gar. Yeah.
So this is just basically what I looked up online, but a couple of these points I did know already. Basically, they've been in North America for 100 million years. They're classified as old fishes. They have the type of scales they're called ganoid scales, and there's only 4 fish in the world that have them. It's longnose gar, all the species of gar, and then you have the species of bowfin and paddlefish and sturgeon have those same kind of scales. So, and all those fish have been around for millions of years.
Wow.
They're basically on the east coast of North and all the way down into Central America, and they go across the United States from Kansas to Texas, all the way to New Mexico and southern, always across the southern United States, pretty much.
Southern side. So that's why Steve Batista just said it.
Kansas is central, so they do go up in some places, I guess.
Okay.
But a lot of those states, I'm pretty sure, and I haven't looked this up, but I'm pretty sure a lot of those states have more spotted gar and short-nosed gar, because that's 2 other species that we have in North America, and they may be catching those as opposed to longnose gar as much.
Okay.
Now I read that.
So that's why Steve says in North Connecticut, they don't have those there. So that makes sense. Hey, Glenn,
probably not.
What's up?
Probably not.
Glenn.
So basically, found out they live about 15 or 20 years. It takes a female about 6 years before she's mature enough where she can produce eggs. The males are like 2 years. And yes, their eggs are poisonous. They are poisonous to mammals. They are poisonous to birds. They are poisonous to crustaceans, which I think is probably a good thing because it makes so many of them in the lakes because nothing's eating their eggs when they put them out.
Right.
So I would say
I saw something around 30,000. But is a hatch of 30,000.
I would say they have a probability of a higher count of their eggs surviving than other fishes, and that's probably why they've been around for 100 million years.
That makes sense, though. Yeah. Yeah, I saw something around 30,000 hatch at one time.
Because you think about when we were seeing them, break the water at Allatoona, we're not just seeing one; we're seeing hundreds of fish.
Right.
Hundreds.
No, seriously, we were seeing hundreds at that time.
And on one other note, the Georgia state record for Longnose Gar is 30 pounds, 13 ounces, caught in Lake Lanier in 2013, and it only beat the old record by 9 ounces, which was caught, I'm not sure where, but so there's a lot of
30 pounds, 13 ounces.
That's almost 31 pounds. Can you imagine hooking the one 31 pounds?
You better have some stronger line tests than what we got.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that, and bigger reels, and more line on the reel, because when they start a 30-pound fish, when he starts running, he's going to run for a ways. You may talk a couple hundred yards before you get to turn around. Wow.
No, that's really cool though. Yeah. So What about let's talk about their ecology. What's the most common prey of the longnose gar?
They are eating small bait fish.
Uh-huh.
They eat crayfish. They are definitely predator fish. They're eating live stuff all the time. You can compare them to a bass.
Yeah.
They're most of the time in the places we're catching them. They're usually that apex predator because if you think about it, once a gar gets 12 inches long, nothing's eating a gar. The only thing that eats small gar, which I read, is other bigger gar.
You're right.
So they have the potential to grow in places, because they have no predators. And at this point in time, there's really nobody that's fishing for them that I know about. I have not met one person besides us that goes out and actually targets gar. They go out and they catch gar when they're catfishing or when they're striper fishing or they're doing something else.
Yeah.
And then most of those times they break off.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, it's a gar. I hooked my line. They never hook them. You see these catfish guys on all these lives, they'll catch. They hate catching gar. Which if we're fishing in a place that's got 50 and 60 and 70 and 80-pound catfish, we probably hate to catch one too.
Right.
But when we're fishing out, we don't have 80-pound catfish. We got 10 to 20-pound channel cats. And if I can catch a 10-pound gar as opposed to a 10-pound channel cat, which one's going to pull harder? The gar is going to pull harder.
For sure.
I would say.
And it's going to be more challenging to get to the boat. Just because you get him to the boat, when you get a big catfish to the boat, you kind of know you got it. A gar gets you right to the boat, see the boat or kayak, and take off again on you.
Oh yeah, and they love that. They go more airborne than trout do. Look, man. We've seen them jump out of the water and go 10 feet.
Wow.
The one in Alatoona that I have a video, he definitely went 10 foot in the water from side to side. Because he's running fast. Because they run fast on top of the water, and you're pulling to the top of the water. They have a tendency to go airborne, and that's one of the reasons I like to catch them too. I mean, come on, how exciting is that? Especially out of the kayak. I mean, you can't tell me that you hated missing that big gar at the kayak when you got to see him jump out of the water in front of you.
I'm a little sore still about it.
I think I'm gonna catch him when we go this weekend.
Oh, hey, he still got my hook in there. Oh man, that'd be amazing right there. Man, at this point, it should be rusty. At this point, I hope. Yeah, yeah. So, we're talking about we're going this weekend, right? But what do you think would be some? Where can you find longnose gar on a body of water? Let's say we're going to start off with just like, where would you look for them? Are you looking on the surface? You looking at the bottom? You looking eddies? You looking coals? Like just a general body of water. It doesn't have to be specific to a lake, river, or anything, but just where would you find them? What do they like?
I would say that is a loaded question because it's different in all the places we fished at. It's not the same. If you're fishing in a big lake, I would say, if we're catching them in Alatoona, I guess probably has to do also with the time of year it is.
Right.
And, we saw them in Alatoona. We seen them busting on bait fish. There's a really big population of shad there. So that's what they're eating. They're getting up underneath these fucking big balls of shad and they're pushing them to the top of the water. And that's why we're seeing 100 of them out there hitting the water. So, we were catching them in 15 to 30 foot of water, but we're catching them on a cork that's only 1.5 foot deep. So we're catching them, we're catching them on top. At the Hudson where I fish for them, that's a completely different animal. It's a small little creek-sized river. It's rocky with shoals. There's one eddy I fish in, or two eddies, and that's where I catch them because they have a break in the water. In a lot of major river systems, like even in South Georgia, you're going to catch them in the slow-moving waters that's off of the main current. They'll be right up in these current seams. So when they can be sitting there and not using very much energy, just sitting back and they're waiting, and as you know, they can move really fast. So when they see a bait fish, they have really big eyes. Yeah. They can see really well, and you take a 4-foot gar, it doesn't take you long to move 10, 15 feet. A matter of a second or two. So at the hydroelectric dam, that's different completely too. We're basically fishing in a football field sized area for the most part.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
And the fish are there in that specific place because you have a lot of oxygen content in the water, especially in the summer when the shit gets hot. And it's in
Yeah.
the Toogali River, which stays cooler anyway. It's cool enough it has trout in. So at any
Mm.
given time when we go there in the summertime, the water's cooler there than it would be in the lake. You know, so that's it. And there's a plenty enough of food source. You know, we've caught enough small fish down there as easily as we can catch them because there's a lot of bait fish down there. So
Yeah.
that's why the stripers, that's why the spotted bass, that's why the gars are all the apex predators there. That's why they're running up to that dam, you know, to
Hmm.
eat those fish. You know, because that's what they're doing. They're eating the little yellow perch. They're eating those freaking little chrome little minnows I told you we caught them when we were with
Yeah.
Wilson. You know, they're up there eating everything they can possibly, you know, and they sit even you know when the water comes down there with the gar, they sit in the little eddies and then they run up into wherever they see something coming to them, and that's how we're catching them.
Wow.
You know,
Huh.
I
So what
mean,
would be a rig or setup that you would use? Let's say what would be your rig or setup needed to target them? Like if you're just trying to go, I just want to generally target them. If I have a lake, river, or are you going to target them the same in all these areas, or what are you going to do?
um,
What's the
I,
basic rig?
I would say the most common factor that I've had in all the places that I've caught them is fishing with a small bobber about 18 inches. You know, I'm fishing in different depths of water in the different places
Mm-hmm.
I'm fishing. Not that much. You know, the Hudson's really where I'm fishing at is not that much different than the hydroelectric dam. The current's
Mm-hmm.
different, but the water depth, you know, is even shallower there. You know, it's maybe 3 to 4 feet, 5 foot in a couple spots. But I'm fishing, you know, in that eddy. So I'm fishing on a court, I can fish at 18 inches. I'm fishing in the middle of the water column. That's and when we're drop shotting at the dam, we're basically doing the same thing there too. Except down there
Right.
we have so many rocks that we want our bait to stay in place. So we're drop shotting because if we tried to Carolina rig them, then we're just going to get hung up every time. And the fish is just going to go down under the rocks. It's going to get hung up. The fish is not going to be able to see it. So what we're sacrificing down there is we're putting our lead in the rocks. And even when it gets caught, our bait is up, 18, 20 inches above that.
Right.
And what do we do when we get hung on a dam? We paddle our kayak support and we pull it loose.
Right.
If we were fishing on the bottom, we would end up losing our bait every time. So that's
So if
why
you're
we
at
do
the
this.
lake, so if you're at Lake Allatoona, Lake Lanier, something like that, what's your approach? How are you going to set up right away? Are you going to go with two rods? Are you going to go with a bottom rod, a bobber rig? How are you going to set up on the lake?
If we're fishing out of your boat, then me and you both can comfortably fish with two rigs at the same time out of your boat. We can
Okay.
fish, whether it be, at Allatoona, if we're both just throwing corks, you're throwing in this direction, that direction, I'm throwing this direction, that direction, and, they're hitting all around us, basically how it was down there. So you
Yeah.
can fish with two. Out of the kayak, one. You really don't need, no, don't put two out. All you're doing is
Yeah.
just setting yourself up for disappointment. Because it's hard enough to
Fact.
keep yourself maintained down there in the kayak in the direction you want to go with one rod as opposed to two. Now, when I fish at the Hudson off the bank, I fish with three or four because I'm throwing out, even at the Hudson, this is how I fish at the Hudson. I never drop shotted down there because I wasn't doing it then. But I was just
Yeah.
fishing with a leader with a sinker on top and fishing on bottom. And in the same little eddy, I'm fishing with a cork at the same time. And then on the other side, I can only get usually three rods down there. On the other side, I can only get one rod down. It's just like really rocky and shallow. So I put a bait really shallow and throw it up into the eddy there where it'll just sit. If I can get it to a point there, if I get it too far to the right, it hits the current and it goes downriver, and I have to reel it up every minute and a half. But I can hit a point down there to the left where it stays in this one little back eddy, and I can throw it out there and I can let it sit there for 20 or 30 minutes. And the thing
So
about
are they sitting in that shallow area in the river? So if we go to how do you catch them in the river? So they just sitting in the shallow, or they sitting in the deep pools and then running up out of it? How are they doing?
Well, I mean, at the Hudson, the Hudson's like really fast flowing too. The Hudson's moving like Jonah Dam does in the river, because where I'm fishing at is at the end of it is in the shoals. The water's shallow, it's rocky, it's running fast. And the gar are coming up in those eddies because that's where the bait fish are, and they're coming to look for them, and that's why I catch them there. The one that you're holding that I caught in the Coosa, I literally caught that fish. We had a horrible day of fishing. That was the first time that me and Wilson ever fished together. But I caught a drum, a little small drum, the first drum I ever caught. So we were getting ready to leave. It was probably about 4 or 5 o'clock. We have a 2 hour ride coming back.
Right.
And he's like, hey, let's stop at that little deep spot by the edge of the bridge. So we stop on where this little cove went into where we could get the boat off. And I jumped off and got in some mud. And I cut the head. I cut the head off of the drum and I threw it out. And that gar hit it within 30 seconds. Wow. And I was fishing at that time with a Carolina rig with just a leader. A leader with braided line.
Braided line.
And somehow that fish managed to cut my line and get both the leader, which I had just made out of braided line. I just cut a piece of braided off, made a leader, tied a swivel on, put an egg sinker on top of it. Somehow he managed to cut the line on both sides of the swivel and wrap his mouth around both sides of the line. And I reeled him straight in. Lucky.
Look how he wrapped it.
Lucky.
You couldn't do that on purpose if you wanted to, huh?
No. If I tried that same scenario again, I would miss that fish 9 out of 10 times. I would say even more than that, probably 99 out of 100 times. Because we've decided you don't fish with braided line with gar, because their teeth are sharper than rocks, and braided line doesn't like rocks. It really does not like gar.
They don't like all these teeth right here. All these, because what people can see is the large teeth, right? They don't see the little bitty teeth in there. Those are the ones that's cutting your line right there. That's the big issue right there that you're having. So, I mean, these fish are a challenge. There's no guarantee you're going to catch them. You can run with them for 30 minutes.
Hey, look, and if you look at their teeth, they're conical shaped on the bottoms, and they have holes in the top of their mouth and the bottom of their mouth where their teeth fit together. So when their jaws together, the upper jaw goes down into the bottom jaw, and the bottom jaw goes up into the top jaw. And all the teeth are
holes right there.
And they're spaced out in between every one of them, so they just go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then they got the little small teeth besides that. So,
No, seriously.
But another big misconception, they're not trying to bite you. Look, in order to get bit by a longnose gar, you have to force his mouth open, stick your hand inside of it, and let him bite you. Otherwise, unless one's just jumping around and accidentally grazes you, they're not going to try to bite you.
Right.
When have you ever heard of somebody swimming in a lake and get bit by a longnose gar or any kind of gar, or even alligator gar that weigh 400 pounds? Never, ever, ever.
Right. And why do you think that is?
Because we're not predators for them. Dude, even for you, if you scale them up to alligator gar, say alligator gar weighs 200 pounds, it's 7 feet long. He's just eating bigger stuff. He's eating freaking carp that weigh 3 pounds. And, think about how wide his mouth isn't big enough and stuff he can swallow. He ain't thinking about you. He ain't trying to eat you. You weigh 200 pounds.
Right. He couldn't deal with it if he wanted to. Yeah.
No.
I understand. So how are you going to catch him at the hydroelectric dam? Let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. Why are you choosing the weight size that you're choosing? Like, why are you choosing the weight and the hook size at the hydroelectric dam if you're on a kayak? Why are you doing that?
All right. So we're drop shotting, obviously. Mm-hmm. I have, let's see, we can move them here. Right there. I think this is a 3/4 to 1 ounce sinker. It's got the little thing on top you can tie your line to. And then I'm fishing with, I love these Gamamatsu hooks. Where they at? See right there? These octopus hooks. That's a 3/0. Now, that being said, I have caught gar out of the Hudson River on like number 1 hooks, not even number 1 on all hooks, the small hooks. I have caught one down there on like a same size hook that I was catching brim on, a number 6 bait holder hook. But I like to use a little bit bigger hook down there because of the way we're fishing. Our fish is only swimming up here on top. He's swimming around. So when they hit the bait, it's in the side of the mouth. They got the weight on the bottom. So I want that little bit bigger of a gap in my hook, so that gives me a better chance of hooking them. If it's in the lake or something, we know we can let them run with it, and we can just let them run. We can let them eat the bait. And you can get away with a smaller hook because they're going to swallow that hook along with the bait. Right. They're really not swallowing the bait down at the hydroelectric dam ever. Right. They get thrown off. When we hook them, the bait's not there, but they ain't eat it. They really just don't. It's there's too much chaos down there. they're only gonna, what we're doing down there is playing like Russian roulette when we hook one of these gar. I mean,
Yeah.
we know that we can paddle around, but you got to think about it like this: if we're catching them in the lake, there's no current. We let them run. We got to let them run 50, 75 yards, and they get to a point away from all the other ones that are out there with them, where they don't feel any, intimidation by them, and then they swallow it, and then we can hook them. At the hydroelectric dam, it's not really like that. They're just constantly swimming around and around those eddies. They're out there looking for food. What's the furthest I've had one run before I hooked it? From the front of the dam down to the corner of that wall, which is probably about 100 yards.
Yeah, about 100 yards.
That's about as far as I've let one run down there to feel comfortable. And other than that, I'm gonna start paddling and try to chase it. But there's enough slack water down there where they feel comfortable enough to actually start eating the bait. And then most of the ones I've caught down there, with the weight being on the bottom, I think they have more of a tendency to get the line wrapped around their mouth because they're coming in sideways with the bait on the bottom and they're hitting it. The bait's up here, the weight's holding it down. So we let them run and they go left and they go right. They're getting more of a tendency for that line to get that, the mono to get wrapped up in their jaw. And that's basically how we're catching them. 50-50.
So you want to have that shank a little wider.
That's for me personally. I like it like that. Yes. For that reason.
What were the ways that you hooked them down there at the hydroelectric dam? What are the different ways? Were they swallowed it? Any of them?
What? Yes, I have had one fish swallow it, but it was the one that I caught with Wilson when I was fishing with the cork and a piece of cut bait. I have not had one swallow it with the drop shot, and I've caught 4 on the drop shot. Now I've had like 15 bites, but
right.
And a lot of that is the same fish. When you're getting bite after bite after bite in one spot, that's it's the same fish. But yeah, I have one swallow it down there. I just had to cut my line. And even try to get the hook out. But you still have a high chance to hook up down there doing it the way we're doing it. And that's why it's fun. If somebody knows a better way that we can get better hookups down there, let us know.
What do you think about trying to like a rope rig, like adding a little nylon rope to the rig?
I tried it.
Try to tangle their teeth up.
I know you caught one like that at Allatoona, but you got to realize there was hundreds of them at Allatoona, and they're all
on the surface.
I know they're all the ones that are catching out are surfacing. I think you could go down there and throw that rope lure at the hydroelectric dam all day long, and you won't catch one.
No,
I don't think so. Oh, sorry.
Why not?
Because it's a different environment, and the fish aren't being the same as they were in the lake. Look, any videos I've ever seen of people catching longnose gar, Richard Jean, the fishing machine, has a rope lure video on longnose gar. And we know where it's at. It's in the lake he's fishing in the boat with no current.
I saw one of a guy called Ace Videos. He's fishing at a dam with the rope.
Yeah.
Fishing at a dam. But he's not in the fast current like we are. He's, it's eddied off pretty much. It basically eddies off. He's casting right offshore.
Hey, and it also could do what time of year it is when they're spawning and stuff like that. And they get more aggressive. I tried it at the Hudson River, and I made like 3 or 4 of them, and I threw it down there. Nothing. Throw some live and cut bait out, catch them. But the numbers of them down there in the little spots are not as many. Gar have a tendency, I'm pretty sure, from watching like Richard Jean's video, is when they do start to spawn, whichever time of year that is, they congregate in the area with big numbers, and they all spawn. They don't make beds. I'm pretty sure they just lay their eggs while they're swimming. The female lays her eggs, and the male fertilizes them with no beds or nothing, just in water.
And they just drop down and stick to the rocks.
Exactly. And they do them in places where their eggs have more of a higher tendency to live. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how they do it.
What do you think is the most frustrating part of targeting longnose gar? Why do you think people get so frustrated with
them? Because I don't think they know how good they are to eat. And
they don't feel like it's worth it, huh?
And I don't. Well, but everybody out there is not fishing for food. A lot of people are catching at least everything. Maybe the fishing that they have in the waters they're fishing, they have better fishing for other fish. We don't just target longnose gar when we go to the places we go. We target other fish too. But
yeah, but why would you? When you get that run, when they fight like that in a run, how isn't that addictive? How is that frustrating to people?
because if I told you, I've been telling you this from the get go, it's 50-50. It don't matter where we're
Yeah.
fishing at. When you hook one, you can let him run for 5 minutes. He could have stopped
Oh,
four
I know.
times, and then you have a 50-50 chance of catching him. Now we can improve those odds with a net, but as far as just, it's 50-50. They can easily, we're only fishing, I've upped my line size for them. I'm only fishing with 14-pound mono. I'm not fishing with any leaders. I'm fishing with
Mm.
straight line, with a drop shot and tying, overhand knot and tying my line on the line.
Mm.
So,
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So if you fish for catfish and you get a Longnose Gar on, you don't. For people who don't even know how they taste, they just like, man, this fish getting on my nerves, especially if they spawning during that time. And it's just one after the other.
yeah, yeah, because usually, you know, and here's the difference between us and catfishers people.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so when we're fishing in the lake, and it's very possible that we could be either catching a gar or a channel cat,
Right.
approximately the same size, 3 to 5, 6 pounds. Same different fish. But this is what we do. When we get a bite, we let it run like every time it's a gar because we want it to be a gar every time. So look,
Right.
so we end up catching those catfish and they're swallowed the bait down to the fucking butthole. All right. So
Right.
when catfishing guys are fishing for catfish, they're usually throwing out with circle hooks, with tight lines, and they're having fish hit it, and they're trying to catch catfish. So in order for them to catch catfish, they're setting the hook, reeling the hook out. So
Uh,
of course, they're missing gar that are biting their catfish reefs
especially with circle hooks.
because they're catfishing. They're not gar fishing.
And they
That
got circle hooks. So they just trying to reel down on them
so
and
so
just
basic
sliding it
so
right
so
out.
basically what happens is they get gar bites. They're losing them every time, and they're stealing their bait, and they're just frustrating them. And, they're not out there to fish for it. With us, it's kind of the opposite. Look, I love to catch the catfish down there. I get, when I get just excited when I do catch one. But every bite that we get down there in those circumstances, I treat like a gar bite. Because if it is a catfish, then all he's going to do is swallow the bait. Unless it's one that weighs 10 pounds or 8 pounds, we're going to throw. We're not going to throw it back anyway. A 3 to 5 pound, we're going to keep to eat.
Right.
I'll say if we catch one down there that weighs 8 pounds, I'll throw it back because he's not going to play tasteful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to cut the hook. You have to cut the line.
Oh yeah,
Let
and
him.
and and I am a memento to saying that fish will be fine if you just cut your line and let the hook rust
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the fish that I had out of John's pond, the hybrid,
Yeah.
I kept him for like I don't know 8 months. When I caught him on a number 4 Aberdeen hook. I've got them gold ones I fish with, the little light wire ones. I didn't pull the hook out of him. I cut the line and brought him home. And in 2 days, he was already eating worms. And
Wow.
about a week or two after that, he was always in there flexing his gills, opening his mouth. And about 2 weeks later, he spit the freaking hook out.
Wow.
So that's why it does not trouble me, especially with sunfish with light wire hooks. They will rust out or they'll spit them out. You know,
Yeah. With the
or
guard, most people are hooking the guard like right here, right? Most of them, this is the goal right here. When it's the soft
yeah,
meat around here, you
yes,
want to hit them right around the lip, right here, the corner. But most people are hooking them just wrapped around, like yours, the one you caught, it just wrapped around his teeth right there.
yep, yep.
Yeah, it's a challenging way to fish though. I think it's exciting though. I mean, what do you think about the future of gar fishing? Like if people really start getting into the sport, what do you think?
What do I think? Just gonna cut down on how many big ones we can catch.
Because it takes 6 years for them to mature, the females, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's a long time.
Right now, there's an abundant population, probably in any. But now, if you talk about alligator gar, a lot of people fish for those.
Right.
But as far as spotted gar and short nose gar and long nose gar and the places that they're at, there's probably not a whole bunch of people targeted. There's
Mm.
people catching them because they're fishing. They're just fishing, you know. But nobody's really targeting them. I don't think. I don't see nobody doing it. I can look up videos all day long online, and if he's somebody that's got a video on catching them, it's not something they do most of the time. It's just, hey, I caught one, and this is how I caught it, and you could catch one like this too. But
Exactly.
but are they going back out there? They're catching them by their bass fishing and stuff. No,
No, I understand that. Like I think it's fun. For me. It got to me because I fish for so many species on the West Coast, and now I'm catching so many on the East Coast. A lot of them very familiar to me, but Longnose Gar is so exciting to me because it's like you can never say I got him on and he's right there. Like you have to be more
Look,
patient, more skilled. You have to finesse. You have to be very, very tedious on that drag. I lost a couple last time because my drag was a little too tight, and man. So those things right there matter a lot. It takes a lot of patience and skill, and you can do everything right and still don't catch them, which is the type of fishing I like because that just keeps me excited, keeps me wanting to learn and catch different type of fish. Catch those fish. And I want to catch a 15 pounder. If it's a 15 pounder, I'm releasing it, of course. But I would like to see what a 15-pound guard does on 14-pound mono.
hey, look, and I told you my list yesterday was 33 species. I just
Yeah,
remembered. I remember two more. I did not
two
add.
more.
I didn't add bullhead catfish or the spotted bullhead catfish that I catch out of the lake that's not too far from here with my nephew. So
Wow.
that puts the total to 35 species in Georgia that I've caught since the time I was a kid. And there's a lot more that I could catch, probably at least another 10, or if not
Yeah.
more than that.
Because
There's
you haven't caught cutthroat. Like brown brook trout, like up north.
no, I'm talking about just in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm talking
Georgia.
in North Georgia. Do they have brook trout
Oh,
or cutthroat?
I don't know. Maybe in some places they have brook trout,
Yeah,
probably that are native.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I'm up to 35 species now. And I will say this: out of all those species I've caught, and I've caught some
yeah,
good ones in a bunch of those species, the gar are
yeah.
the most fun to target and most fun to catch. After being 45 years old and fishing since I was 2 years old, gar are the most fun that I've had fishing,
What
hands down. And
is
I've
that
caught,
exciting to you?
and that it's a different time of my life. I've had a lot of fun walking in ponds and catching big bass off of beds and watching them and throwing worms out, letting them eat them, laying down on the ground with my daddy when I was a
Yeah,
kid. Dude, I was a teenager dressed in camouflage, throw worms out, let them eat them, and then throwing out, let them eat them. Yes, that's fun too. But,
yeah.
right now in my life, gar are more fun to catch than anything else.
I like the way they run for a long time. And they peel that drag, man, and
I,
come jump out of the water on you like
yeah,
that.
yeah. My personal favorite of them is how hard they pull and how they
Yeah.
jump out of the water. Because look, if you give him half a chance, he's coming out of the water at least one time while you hooked him, and it ain't gonna be a little jump. It's gonna be a full breach out of the water, 2 foot off the water, sideways. I'm going back in.
Wow,
Hey,
look
see
at you.
ya.
Come look at you. Look at you in the air. No, that's a tough fish to catch.
Hey,
I
hey,
really
hey,
like it.
hey, but obviously that's contagious down there at the hydroelectric dam because we keep seeing
Yeah.
fish breach out of the water, and I'm pretty sure, and I've talked to a couple people about this and asked them, I'm pretty sure it's channel cats that we've seen breach out of the water.
Yeah.
And
See,
and we've talked about this, the circumstances of the fast moving water, the low, it's not very deep. They're coming up from 4 foot deep up to the surface to hit, and they just end up jumping out. I think that's why
yeah.
we see them do it.
And they're not full breaching like the guards, fully 2 feet
No,
above the
no, no,
water.
no, no. But we
They're
just,
laying out. They're just like laying over.
yeah, yeah. But a full body out of the water,
Yeah, yeah.
sideways. Yeah, they're not
Like
getting the
they
hot.
chasing bait.
Yep. Say that.
No, that makes sense right there. We're gonna get you guys an exclusive video to see what this is. It's like this fish is jumping. We think it's catfish, but we're just not used to channel cats jumping like that as much as they are down there. When the water comes up, they're breaching. They're breaching. We're like, is it a bass? No, because it has a round head. It's brown, and we were under the impression that it was a brown trout, like an 8-pound trout, but the way they're coming, it's just a little bit hard to because the roundness of the head. The only fish that's more have a round head are usually the bullhead catfish or the channel head catfish. Channel catfish. We're just seeing them at a certain angle. So we really want to get some footage to be able to show you guys when we go this Saturday. But this Saturday, Sunfish Assassin, it's raining. It's going to be full rain, 90% rain, chance of rain, which we're most likely going to be rain. And that's all day.
Is that thunderstorms?
No, it doesn't say thunderstorms yet, but it just says rain,
All right.
90%. Will that make the fishing better or worse at the dam?
I'm gonna say that we're gonna have a better chance of catching fish with it raining than we're gonna do without it raining on bluebird skies. Because you have to realize, especially when we're up in the kayaks, when the water's down, we're in our fucking kayaks. We're not being quiet. We're talking to each other. We're bouncing off the walls with our paddles. We're going round and round in freaking circles. We're cussing under our breath because we can't throw out what we want to. Yeah, the fish know we are there. We're just
Right.
lucky. Look, we're just lucky that nobody's fishing for them down there. Because if a lot of people fish for fish the way we're fishing down there, we got nothing to catch nothing. Because the fish would be like, oh, I ain't biting your line. I mean,
Right. That's
that's how
true.
I feel. So I feel if it's raining and it's cloudy and there's something breaking the water all the time and there's no sun overhead, that the fish are not going to have as much of a profile of us. There's just going to be more going on. The water is going to be cooler. It's at least at the surface with the rain, and I think overall it's going to give us a better chance of catching every species of fish down there.
Have you
Whether
ever
it
been on your
what?
kayak in full rain though?
Oh, dude, heck yeah!
So how you
I
feel about it at the dam and full rain?
have no
When it's
issues with
fully
it.
rain.
No issues whatsoever. I fish just the
I'm
same.
excited to see what it'll be like and how many we can actually catch when it's what is a low pressure. You know, I want to see that when there's not a lot of pressure on the water.
Honestly, we're talking about garfish, but honestly, I hope that all those conditions come together and the hybrids and the stripers run up in there and we catch those.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that it's stripers. You know, I am. I'm hoping that we could catch some hybrids, some stripers in there, and
Look,
some
look,
nice
look,
sized catfish.
look! I can't believe that as many stripers and wipers that in the limited trips we've been down there we've caught, which has probably been, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, I
Uh huh.
think, between
Uh huh.
all of us, Wilson too. Um,
Yeah.
we have not caught one on live bait. So
Uh,
I want to get out there and be throwing the live bait drop shot and bam, pull up and it's a striper. I'll pull up to the kayak because I still ain't caught one out of the kayak.
yeah. So you've only caught them on
Uh,
plastics,
yes, everyone
artificials,
bucktail jigs mostly,
bucktail jigs.
and then the swim baits, and then I've caught one on the that little lure I had that I lost and got back
Yeah.
that I'm still fishing with.
So what's the weight size that you would use out there and why?
Um, if I'm throwing a jig head down there when the water's up and it's going fast, I'm throwing about
Yeah.
3/8. And 3/8 is
Yeah.
heavy enough that it'll get it down in the current while I'm reeling it across it, but not heavy enough that it gets me hung in the rocks. And once you
So
start throwing that,
if you go to
look,
1 ounce, that's it.
if if you throw a half to 3/4 ounce jig head like
Uh-huh.
the bucktails that I was throwing down there the first time we went with Wilson, he's like,
Yeah.
hey, bring bucktails back. So I went to the store and I bought 6 of them, and I gave him 3 and I kept 3. I lost all 3 of mine today.
That
We we
same day.
we caught fish on them. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I lost them because you can't reel them fast enough to keep them from getting hung in the rocks.
And those were 1 ounce.
Like 3/4.
Those 3/4, and they were just too
Mm,
heavy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even when my bait casting reel, it ain't got a retrieve ratio enough to, because when you're throwing them, you're cranking it hard as you can crank it.
Yeah, but it doesn't it get to a point where it's moving too fast for the fish?
I mean,
Basically the way they sit in that current for them to chase it.
basically when
Like if
we're
you really got to crank it that hard,
yeah,
it's
well,
probably
yeah,
moving too fast.
when we're fishing with the bucktail jigs, I don't fish them the same way as I do the swim baits. With the bucktail jigs, I throw them out and I let them sink for about 1 or 2 seconds, and I yo-yo them. I'm not just reeling;
Uh,
I'm jerking, reeling the slack down, jerking, reeling the slack down, fast as I can do it, fast as I can do it, fast as I can do it,
uh,
every time. Bam, 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 and it's just going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's when they're hitting. With the swim baits, you can get a lot, with a 3/8,
yeah.
and it'll get enough deep down to the water that you're just reeling it and you're getting action off the tail, and you're trying to look like a little bait fish, and then they're hitting it,
Uh,
they're hitting it on the run. So it's different with those two.
uh,
But Wilson has really good luck with those blade baits, and he's fishing those blade baits the same way. He's yo-yoing them. They're heavy baits, and he can stand at the corner of that wall and throw it all the way down to the end of the wall, just about
what?
with his rail, and he's yo-yoing it. He's letting it drop, and what happens is with it being heavy, he ends up getting hung up a lot and losing them.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna fish like that, and a lot of people fish for stripers down there. Those fish down there have seen every lure you can throw at them. I would say it's
Yeah.
very. The gar down there are stupid,
Right.
but 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 the wipers and the stripers down there are very smart. You got to realize the water down there is very clear. Look, we can stand out in it when it's not current. We can see down the water, 3, 4, 5 feet.
Right.
So, and they can see really well. So they see your line, they see your bait. So I'm saying that probably the ones that I end up accidentally catching, I probably got off reaction bites. I'm not
Brushing it right past their face.
Yeah, probably. When you throw 1,000 times and you only get 1 or 2 bites,
Yeah.
But you've noticed that I'm pretty determined when it comes down there. Even when you quit throwing for them, I keep throwing for them,
Yeah.
and that's because when I have done that, I've actually caught some.
Yeah.
So look, that's why I wasn't mad when I hooked spotted bass and lost him.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that I didn't eat him, but I threw it in a place I thought I was going to get a bite with a bait I wanted to fish with, and I got a bite, and I got him on the way up to me.
That's awesome.
So that's why I was happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's why it didn't bother me.
Do you think the gar will come in the eddy, like right near where you're fishing at? Are they sitting in the eddies out there?
Look, I think that if nobody was to ever go down there and fish, that where we're putting in at the bank in that eddy, there would be fish there all the time. But you got to think about it. It's not just us fishing down there, because you can look at all the line down there and all the trash people leave. Everybody's coming to that eddy, to that point, and fishing. Whether they're walking out in the water as far as us, they're still down there. So the fish are going to be skittish a bit. Like you'll see when the water comes up and the current starts running down that wall, we'll start seeing fish hit out like 10, 20 yards in front of us. But they're not hitting where we're standing in the water.
Right, of course.
You take people out of the equation, and nobody was down there, they'd be up there where we're standing in the water.
So if gar spawn, like say 30,000, right? When they do spawn, how many gar should be there then? If just 2 spawn over the last 2 or 3 years, think about that. I mean, are we missing a lot of them? Like say we missed 20 bites and we catch 2 that day. Are we missing a lot of small gar? Like what if we just a lot of small ones that haven't matured yet?
Well, I mean, and this is something I've never, the smallest gar, look, I got a head, let's see right here. This is a gar I caught out of the Hudson River.
Yeah.
It's not very big. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was a male. I think that the way we're fishing and the fishing we're targeting, I really think that we're just missing it. If we're fishing the same spot and keep getting baits, there could be a few of them, but I mean, we've talked about this before. How many of them do you think are in that football size area? How many of them do you think are coming in and out? How many of them do you think that we've caught have been down there for years and nobody's caught them? And we suddenly just took them out of the situation of them being in the river. Now, will more fish come up into that area? Probably yes, but how much time does it take?
All right. Are they coming up when the current is rising?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They can obviously swim upriver. So if they have it in their minds either they want to swim to the dam, they're going to swim to the dam. They're going to swim to the dam when it's down or when it's up if they really want to go.
Right.
That's not an issue for them, swimming in the current. But, I would say with the food source that we see down there for them, all the bait in the water and all the fish hitting, it's obviously a place where it's very rich, in food for the fish. And that's why. Look, we're catching a whole broad spectrum of fish. You sit down and you caught all this panfish when we were down there.
Right.
Because we weren't catching anything else. And like, bam, I caught 18 fish and took them home. Yeah. You ain't put a dent in the brim that were down there. Right. Now, have we put a dent in the other predator fish that were down there since we've been keeping them and eating them? I would say probably a little bit.
A little bit.
Now is that gonna change over the winter time and fish going upriver and downriver and coming back up again in the springtime? No. But
I think so?
I think probably that the fish that did that this past spring and the biggest ones we were catching, they probably came up into that area at that time, and then they just hung around because there was a lot for them to eat. I mean, that's just what I think.
So what would be a good alternative place if they're spawning? They're obviously spawning in the river. Where's the place where it's pockets of them at then? there has to be a good clutch of them, at least 100 at some point in different pools, because they like to school up to each other to spawn.
You think well, I mean, you're talking about a different time of year. I don't know. I don't know where the fish spawn in the Tougaloo River. They're definitely not doing it up at the dam.
I think they spawn behind that wall at Yona Dam, where it's just so calm, brackish, and it comes up. And when it comes up, you're able to go right across on your kayak. When it's not up, you have to walk through the rocks. It's very slippery. But as you get up back in there, it's gar sitting back in there in that pool. I think they spawn in that type of area.
If I had to look this up online, I would. But I think that you're not right about that for one reason.
Why?
I think that gar, the type of way that they spawn in moving current. And I think that it takes them being in moving current. Even in a lake, I think they're getting in where the current's moving, and that's where they're laying their eggs. They're not going back up into the sloughs in a lake and laying their eggs. They're laying them out in the current, so it has distributes their eggs as much as they can distribute. I might be wrong about that, but I think I'm probably right.
But right back in that area, though, right back where
possibly,
the current seam off the wall, right there where it breaks in that area.
I think that probably the gar in the Tougaloo River are going downstream, and they're finding places where they have current seams, where there is eddies with currents going beside them, where they have a place where they can gather and then have the eggs get distributed in the water once they fertilize them. Because, they're finding sandy bottoms, which is everywhere in that river. Everywhere.
So when hatch, when 30,000 hatch in that river, primary predator is bigger gar.
Yes, it's not like us catching bass and brim off the beds. They make a bed, they guard it, and the male stays there until the fish are big enough, and then they turn around and eat them. But they're protecting them until they get so they're little. Gar's not like that. They just release their eggs in. They're just on their own. They're kind of like a sailfish out in the ocean. They release their eggs, and then it's like, hey, whatever happens to them, happens to them. That's why they need so many of them. Because once them little gar get little, and they're only like an inch or two long, everything's eating them, just like they're eating everything else. They don't have it. They don't have any parents that are taking care of them or looking after them. No.
When do their scales harden like that? Then would it be harder for them to be eaten though? At some point, it's going to be hard for you to eat them, even like that. That's going to be a challenge. The way their body is and their shape of their scales and everything. That's going to be a hard meal.
If a predator fish can swallow a fish, it doesn't matter what kind of scales they have on them. Their body stomachs are going to.
I know, but what's swallowing them though like that?
A tiny little, say a newly hatched.
I've never seen a newly hatched longnose gar. I never saw it.
But what would I guess is eating them? Anything in the river system that can swallow them. The freshwater drum will be eating them if they can eat them. Bass will be eating them if they can eat them. If there's a brim that's big enough and it's small enough and it swims by them, they'll eat it too. Anything that can swallow them that is a predator fish is eating them when they're little. They're not any different than any other kind of fish when they're really small.
So what age do you think is like, okay, they're dominant?
I want to say that I read that within a year, I could be wrong about this, but I think within a year
my notes real quick.
They can be up to 12 inches long in a year. So a 1-year-old longnose gar is roughly 10 to 12 inches long. So once he gets up to be that big, then there's probably not a lot of stuff to eat him except bigger gar or a big catfish. Could probably eat one, that big. Their predators go really downhill. It don't take them long. Once they get to be 2 foot long, there's nothing eating them. Nothing in our waters that are eating them, because we don't have any fish that are big enough that can. It's not like that in other states, I'm sure, when they have bigger catfish and bigger longnose gar and stuff. I'm sure they get eaten to the point where they're bigger. But where we're at, a 2 foot gar is not going to get eaten.
So it's saying, they spawn in temperatures close to 68 degrees Fahrenheit in late April to early July, and their eggs are adhesive coating. Of course, we know that, and it helps them stick to substrates. And they're deposited onto stones in shallow water, rocky shelves, and vegetation. So shallow water, rocky shelves, and vegetation. And they like to leave them in the smallmouth bass nests. So they use the smallmouth bass to protect their eggs. Yeah, that's what I read earlier too. But they use bass. They go in, they lay them in their egg nest. So bass are spawning where? Bass would be spawning in an area that's not going to be fast moving water like that. And if they're depositing their eggs there because they know the bass will protect them, there we go. I think that's a huge one. And then it says their hatch time is 7 to 9 days. And the young gar stay in vegetation during the first summer of their life. For the first summer, they're in the vegetation.
So basically, they're just up along the edge, just like tiny little brim.
Yeah, just up along the edge in vegetation, and then when they're laying their eggs in the bass spawning areas. So it has to be shallower. Well, that's why I said when I went back behind that wall, I saw a bunch of bass. This would be perfect for them to be able to live and survive. And as the water rises, they get bigger. They can come out from behind that wall into that fast current where they can survive. So it seems like if they're doing that in the bass area, that would be.
So get down there and walk more and see if you can see a little one. I don't know.
I think I probably could. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it on Saturday. I'm gonna try to see. Well, Saturday I may not because it's raining. It may be a little too hard to see.
Look, if we can catch one small enough, I will put it in my fish aquarium for a couple months. But it will probably won't live. Look, I tried to put a pickerel, a grass pickerel, I call it, in my aquarium, and it was probably about 10 inches long, and I couldn't, I could never get it to eat, and it was in a 55-gallon aquarium.
Wow.
I tried to feed it for like a week or two, and I just ended up getting rid of it. It wouldn't eat. Because you think that they need a lot of room to move around.
Yeah, they do.
But if you catch me one that's like 4 inches long, I'll put him in the aquarium.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Put him in the aquarium and see how that works.
Hey, look, and I'll get him to bite my finger just like the bass.
That'd be nice though to see. He'll drop blood on you though. He'll drop blood.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
All right, so once you catch one, all right, you caught your gar. How do you prepare them? How would you cook and clean a gar?
It's pretty simple. I made a video on it. I take a pair of 10 snips or even a pair of dog toenail clippers and, cut a hole in the top of their head and then just cut them down the middle, cut them around the top, peel the shell off of them, take the fillets out. No bones. People, look, and people, I had an old man at work that we do work for, was telling him about catching gar and eating them. He goes, "Oh, they're full of bones." I'm like, "No, they're like, no, they're not." And he goes, "Yes, they are." He's probably about 60, 65 years old. So I didn't even try to sit there and argue with him. Now, jackfish, chain pickerel, yes, they have Y bones down the middle of them. And I'm pretty sure probably both end do too. I've never cleaned a both end, but I'm pretty sure they have ones like, down the middle. But gar, 0 bones, none. They're fillets, just like you fillet anything else.
Fillet, yeah. Unless you cut through the bone to get that bone, they do got they do have that bone that you're dragging against with your fillet knife.
Well, yeah.
Unless people are like actually, cutting them straight down the stomach and pulling all the insides out and then they cooking it that way and then pulling. I don't know how they would do that. I haven't seen anyone do it that way.
Well, and I've cleaned several of them that had eggs in them. But when I try to clean them, I clean them from the top down, and then I stop scaling their. When I get down to their belly on each side, I stop. I don't cut them all the way around the bottom. Cut them completely out. And then I just fillet the fillets off of them. And as you know, they're freaking awesome. They're good fried. Talk about bubblegum fried shrimp, boiled shrimp, blackened gar patties, fried gar, grilled gar. Hey, I haven't done it, but they say when you grill it, they have the same texture as shrimp.
A shrimp?
Mm-hmm. And you can imagine they probably do. Think about
I can imagine.
So yeah, you can
let's see how you prepare them. I'm gonna go ahead and queue up a video in just a second.
All right. While you do that, give me just a break because I gotta go use the bathroom real quick.
Okay, cool.
I'll be back in one minute.
All right, guys. While he's stepping off, I'm gonna go ahead and queue up his video right now. I'm just going after those gar. Let's see here. Okay. Let me go ahead and share that. I want to see how he actually cleaned them. And this is on his channel. Go ahead over to his channel, Sunfish Assassin, if you haven't already. Sunfish Assassin on YouTube. All right. All right, there we go. So we're gonna add that to the stream. Maximize that. All right, let's go see how Sunfish Assassin actually cleans one.
I'm here today. I'm going to clean this Longnose Gar that we caught yesterday, and a lot of people have asked me, how I clean them. It's not very hard. Generally, I like to use a pair of 10 snips.
Yeah.
Couldn't find those today, so I've got a pair of dog clippers. Got a knife that I use to clean fish with. Of course, I got a wet rock.
You need that. You need those 10 snips, though.
I'm going to start a hole right here in the top of the head.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. Let's see if these guys work. Then I'm going to go straight down the backbone.
You ready, George?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So explain to us what you're doing. I know you're narrating in here, but maybe for the viewers in real time, what are you doing?
Basically, I'm just trying to cut them straight down the middle of their back, from the back of their head down to their tail. And then I'm going to go behind their gill flaps, and I'm going to try to cut them straight down. And the hard part, the hardest part about it is getting it started. And obviously my knives are not never as sharp as I want them to be. Makes it a little bit easier for me. But if you can actually take your fingers and spread them open, and that's I joke around and say it's like cutting them out of a shell, because that's exactly what it's like. It ain't like filleting a fish. It's like taking a lobster and cutting his meat out of the shell.
Exactly like cutting a lobster. It is. It's exactly. I almost want to grab them. You grab the lobster and you pull it up like that. Yeah, you break them up. That's exactly how it feels. That's a hard part right there. I actually cut my finger on that.
Oh heck yeah, you can.
Trying to pull them open right there.
Oh yeah.
I cut my thumbs up on doing that.
Of course, but if you can get your fingers under the edge of it and get it started, once you get it started, you get your knife pointed underneath it. Then you just keep your knife directed out towards the inside of their skin or their shell, and then it's very, very easy. It's very easy. You just kind of just peel them out. And then once you get them broke down on both sides, you can just cut both blades out. And, if you're like us, you save the head and throw the rest of it away.
Yeah, we saved the head, y'all. I got a couple of them brewing in there outside.
Yeah. I only have 2 right now, but I have given 2 away. So, yeah.
This one, right? This is one of them you gave away.
Yeah. That was your birthday present.
My birthday. That's what I was about to say. This is my birthday present right here, y'all.
Hey, look. Cool, and it lasted longer than the birthday present you gave me.
Oh man!
Because what did you give me?
Because
you gave me a gift card to Academy, and I went and bought what, a GX2. GX2. It was like $44 and some change. And what happened to it?
Broke it. Got hung up on a tree.
First time I fished with.
The fish ran around a tree that we were fishing right next to, and bam, set the hook in. It had to be dry rotted. I never see an ugly stick break like that.
First day, so yeah. So at least I didn't pay anything for the gar head. At least it'll last longer.
See, that's the eggs right there.
Yep. Yep, that was a female. In fact, that is the gar that I caught at the Hudson River. And that's the head on it right there. All right, guys, as you can see, I've got him opened up. I'm pretty sure
it's so small compared to the body size, though.
I know, and that's another thing is you don't want to be fishing with bait that's too big for them to swallow.
Right.
Well, what's our talk? We'll talk about that too.
Let me pull back out of your video, and then you can show them some demonstrations on the size of the bait that you should be fishing with and everything like that. Let me pull back out of this. 1 second. Okay. All right. So big.
All right. So I have 2 lures that I bought by, I guess I could say they're Savage Gears that I haven't caught crap on. They look nice, but nothing. So like here's a shiner. It's like 5 inches long. You can see my hand behind it. You see the profile of it. It's long and skinny. It's kind of like the creek chubs we fish with. You can get
Yeah.
away with a little bit bigger bait this shape than you can with a bluegill. You know, that's basically the size of bluegills we're fishing with. Even a little bit smaller. This bluegill, you know, it's a Savage Gear bait. I think it's like 3.5 inches long. I think I'm good with that size as long as we're catching gar that are like 6 pounds, 5, 6 pounds. That gar can swallow this bait 5, 6 pounds, but if you get one that's 2 to 3 pounds, she's gonna have even a hard time swallowing this.
Yeah.
Because their throats just aren't that big. Now, can you catch one on a fish this big if he can't swallow it? Possibly, you know, you can wrap the line around him and stuff. But if you're
Can
going
we
to get
see
it,
it demonstrated on your head? See the size of them?
yeah. Let's see. So this is the bigger head. That would be. Let's see. Let's go this way. That would be the little bluegill in his mouth, like that. So basically, what they're doing is they're hitting it and they're putting it between their mouth like this, and they're running. They're running. So you get to a play space and they kind of choke them up, and then they try to swallow them down. You know, basically like that. That's what they're doing. You know, with a fish this size, even with this size, you know, I can put that bait inside that gar's mouth, and it'll fit pretty good, even though it's longer and it's a bigger bait because of the profile. Yellow perch, we could catch them down there on yellow perch that are 4 or 5 inches long, probably. But bluegills, we're not going to catch them down there that's more than 3 inches long, probably, because the bluegills get too wide for their mouth. You know. Now, if that fish were to eat a bluegill that was bigger in the wild and they had all the time in the world with no line hooked to him, and they could swim around and they could choke him down, are they eating fish bigger than that? Yes, they are. But the practicality of us catching one on a bigger bait, look, if when we're down there catching the brim, you said it in your video. Hey, if they're big enough, I'm going to keep them. If they're small enough, we're going to keep them for bait. How many of them do we throw back because they were too small to eat, but they're too big for bait? A bunch of them.
Yep, facts. Yep.
You know,
yep, true.
The 4 inch, you know, even when they get 4 inches, they're for what the fish we're catching down there, which is some good ones, are too big. You can throw that. You can throw that to them all day long, and they'll hit it and hit it and hit it, and you ain't gonna catch them.
They're gonna tear the tails up because you know every now and then we catch one. We like say we run out of bait. We like get one. We just want to use it just 4 inches, just an inch longer, and they tear the tails up. They tear the head up, and you never can catch them. I mean, they hitting it, and you let them run for 10 minutes if you want to. They won't be able to take it down. I think it's a misconception about the head of the gar. You know, a lot of people I've heard say that that the bones, you know, their head just opens up where they can fit something like, you know, like a 8-inch bluegill, 10. I'm pretty sure if they had enough time.
No.
Yeah.
I will disagree.
I mean?
I will disagree with that. I mean, you can see my finger going in the fish's mouth. His throat is not gonna. I mean, yes, they do have cartridges down the bottom where it could open up, you know, some, but the point of entry is only so big.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I see a lot of people, even that guy, what's his name? The Real Jedi. He had his bluegill was like this.
Yeah. Well, his friends was.
Yeah, his friends was.
His friend that was fishing with him was talking about he was fishing one that was big enough to eat for supper. But did his friend catch that gar? No, he didn't.
Hey, Sunfish, on a quick side note, CGL fishing, he targets gar as well. He just commented right now. You see what he said?
He said he needs a gar
skull.
I got one right here. All I gotta do is throw some acrylic on it.
Yeah, we got you, CGL, man. His name is Dakota, guys. Go check out CGL's fishing channel as well. He put out a really good video recently, wading in the water, and he was catching some nice sized bass. So
hey, look,
he'll be coming on and talk about gar too on our next episode.
Hey, look, and you know me, like, you know, how many channels I tell you I'm subscribed to? Hundreds, probably, that I've talked to people over the last couple of years, you know, in lives and stuff like that. How many of them people's videos do I watch? Not maybe 25 of them. CGL stuff, I really like it. I've watched a couple of his videos, and when I started watching them, I watched them all the way through. I told him I felt the vibe of his videos, and I thought they're good. So I'm sure I'm going to keep watching them. You know?
Oh yeah, he has really good content.
And he fishes kind of local to us. You know where he was fishing at in one of his videos is 3.5 hours from my house. But I bet CGL didn't know this. I was born in South Kakalaki. I was not born in Georgia. But yeah, and as Southern people call South Carolina, South Kakalaki.
South Kakalaki.
Yeah, South
I like it.
Kakalaki. Yeah, yeah. I was born in Orangeburg, South Carolina, which is further south from where he's at. But yeah.
Yeah,
So, hey,
CGL man, we appreciate you too. And when we like the targeting, the way you target the fish, we like the way you make your content. And trust me, man, we're gonna have you on. I see how everything is running right now, so we'll be having you on to talk about the gar and all the other fish species that you catch as well. So we'll be on all together at one time on the episode coming soon.
Hey, and what I'm excited about, Georgia has a lot of good fishing. South Carolina also has a lot of good fishing. Hey, look, South Carolina has more white-tailed deer per square mile than any other state in the United States. They have a lot of good hunting. They have a lot of good fishing. They have coastal areas, a lot of intercoastal areas to fish. South Carolina is a very rich state when it comes to hunting and fishing in the United States.
Wow.
Yes.
Look, he said he got that South Carolina blood. He said we need to come fish with him. We will. It's just a little far from George. He's closer to you. That's 3.5 hours. From me, it's almost. It's about 5 hours. Almost 5 hours from me. I'm at least 4.5. So I'm pushing about 5. Yeah, I'm pushing about 5.
Look, we're not even talking about a day trip. We're talking about having to go get a motel room and spend the night and go fishing and come back home the next day.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna have to do for sure. To do it, we will eventually at some point. But we got a lot of little moving parts going on with our families and everything. We're both married men, and we're very in tune with our families and stuff. So we'll get a chance to be able to do it. We're definitely gonna come down and do a good video with you and stuff. And if you're ever down here, all you gotta do is hit us up. He said he has a good gar story when he comes up.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, he said they were running the water at the dam yesterday, and he said it was a lot of gar hitting on top right there. They were telling on the surface. He was saying, "No, that's a good one." So I'm telling you, yeah. So so you've caught them in how many different areas, George? The gar? How many different bodies of water, types of water did you catch them in? You caught them in the Hudson?
I've caught them in the Hudson. I have caught them at Lake Allatoona. I have caught them at the Coosa River, which is northwest Georgia, and then at the hydroelectric dam.
The hydroelectric. And by far, which one is your favorite?
You don't have to ask me that question. You already know. Catching the gar out of the kayak is way more fun than catching them off the bank. It is hard. It is harder to do, and I think that's why it is so much fun. Because look, me and Chris aren't fishing in expensive kayaks. We're fishing in cheap 10-foot kayaks. I pick mine up and throw it on my shoulder and carry it down to where I'm going to fish it. Yeah. They can turn over very easily. You don't ever stand up in our kayaks.
No, ever.
That's for the birds. Even with your elevated seat. Let me watch you stand up in your kayak down there in the rapids.
It's not gonna happen.
Nope.
And with my height too, soon as I couldn't even get up to stand up. Before I could get to this position right here, that's it. That's it.
Hey, so catching the gar down there in that, because you told me I made a video of fishing in dangerous waters. It's really not that dangerous, especially once you do it. You do it a few times. Yeah, I don't even want to get you started, but what we're doing in our kayaks, we're really not in that much danger. It looks like it is, but it's really not.
No, because we're skilled though, George. And our kayaks, as cheap and easy tippy as they are for other people, they can't come and do it like that without the level of experience we have. We're very, very comfortable in our kayaks compared to most people in that area.
I've fished out of my kayak and one just like it probably like 75 times in the last 2.5 years.
Exactly. And they ain't getting out there in that tamarack like mine and do that. And I'm reaching back, grabbing bait. and we turning around, letting the guard tow us back.
Look, me and you running our kayaks in together, and I'm pulling my rod down so you get your line over it.
Who's doing that? How many people can really do it like that? Like who can we ask right now that go, let me see a video of you at a hydroelectric dam on a Lifetime Tamarack, or what's your kayak?
It's just like
name?
I don't know, it's a $400 kayak from Academy.
Yeah. So
But
imagine somebody on our kayaks doing that at this level. I don't know anyone on YouTube doing it at this level with that down there.
No, and not catching the kind of fish we're catching.
It's not happening. It's not happening. They couldn't do it. Not consistently, and not a whole day. We're going from 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening.
Dude, like I told you, yesterday I put 4 showers in and 2 of them are upstairs, so that shit don't bother me none.
Yeah, but I'm saying that time, how many, like, who could come with us and do it for that amount of time with that level of endurance? It's very few people who can do it like that and stay in the dam. George, you know what I'm talking about? We're staying paddling and with a rod out and staying there.
Yeah. Hours at a time.
The average person, they can't stay for an hour like this.
Look, how many people can wade out up to water up to their titties and throw with their arms over their head for 30 straight minutes and throw with their arms over their head for 30 straight minutes?
Exactly. See? That's hard right there. So,
dude, but I've done a lot. But I've done a lot of electrical work and I've hung a lot of ceiling fans and I put a lot of fans up. So I've done a lot of work in my life, working over my head with drills in my hand, to the point when you guys just gotta let them down. You can't hold them up no more. But you're working for a job, so you gotta do it all day long. Yeah. We get out there and we do it when we're fishing. It's fun, so it just makes it that much easier. I ain't holding a drill. I'm holding a rod and reel. I can do this all day long, mother hunters.
No, for real, man. It would be good to go. Like, I know some people are going to gain interest right now and they would like to try to come with us. I just have to give them that warning though, that, you know, to be able to do it, you know, it's a challenge right there to be able to do that.
Alexander says, hey.
What's up, Alexander?
He said, what's up?
What's up, Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but if someone wanted to come with us, what would you recommend for them to do to come with us to Yona Dam?
At first thing I would ask them is, can they swim?
Right.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to go down there with somebody that's never waded in the water, or, you know, somebody that's never fished a lot. You know, we could definitely meet people that's, you know, been fishing for years, that's got a lot of experience doing stuff like that would acclimate and feel really comfortable doing it. You know, it's a matter. It's a matter of going down there with somebody that's already done it, and seeing what they do and seeing what you can do. And you give me crap all the time about the stuff I do. But look, the first time I went down there with Wilson, I didn't wade out any more to start with, more than a couple feet.
Yeah.
Because I was unsure about it and I wasn't sure with the water current and stuff. I've never done nothing like that. But after 5 or 6 trips and comparing it to stuff I've done before, just like it, and getting a feel for the environment, and you know, we know where the rocks is at, and just like this and that, it becomes more customary. And that's just when any kind of fishing that you do, or anything in life. It doesn't even have to do with fishing. The more times you do something, the more times you feel comfortable and you feel confident in things that you can do as your own person.
Look at it. Yeah. No, I think that's true. No, I think that's true. You know, it is one of those things where you got to go and you get more skill, you get more comfortable with it. I've only been down there 3 times. You've been down there 6?
5 times. 5.
Okay, I thought you were down there a couple more times than that.
No, I think 5. I think I went with 2 times with Wilson without you.
Okay. So yeah, we're still getting the hang of it ourselves, though. So,
you know, that look, you always tell me the stuff that I'm doing is sketchy when I'm doing it, but I'm never pushing myself to the limit. I'm only going like halfway is the way I'll usually look at it.
60, 70. Hey, when you said I'm up to my titties, throwing over my head, what is that? Look, if we do our body, that's more than what?
4 feet, 4.5, 4 feet of water, 4.5, and I'm in current that's running like. But look, I'm in the little seam on the wall when I'm doing that, so I'm not really in the current. I'm laying my body against the wall, so I'm letting the water go past me, and I got handholds to hold onto the wall, so it's not like it's bad.
How many times have you felt that foot slip a little bit? Huh? Do you feel, oh, I'm not worried about it, or do you feel concerned when
No,
that foot
no,
slip?
no. I will tell you this: all the times that I walked down to the wall, I was very, very cautious on where I stepped, and before I ever threw for the first time, I found a spot with my feet on the bottom that I felt comfortable in. I gauged my weight against the current, and I don't just go out there blindly and do it.
Yeah,
If I find a spot where I feel comfortable, if I don't feel comfortable doing, it, I'm not going to do it. But if I find a spot and I can stand there for a minute and I can, lean into the water a little bit and get my feet wedged down on some small rocks on the bottom where I
yeah.
got good foot contact, and I feel like I can stand there and I can stand there for a couple minutes, and I'll start throwing. I'm not just going to walk
Okay.
out there, and just, blindly just, hey, I'm going to go over here and walk, woo, throw. No, I get my balance first. I take a minute or two to get my balance and get myself situated. Feel like I'm in a comfortable position where I can actually start fishing.
So if it's somebody watching or anybody that's like, hey, I see, he could do it. I could do it in my dam. What would you recommend them make sure the absolute necessities they need to have and the
Um,
mindset they need to go into
all
it
right,
if they're
let's
going to
get
try
into
to
it.
try? Because some people are
All
going to try to
right,
do it.
we'll get into this. A life jacket, because I do it without a life jacket on. Like you don't need to put a life jacket on me because you're gonna have to freaking come pick me up downstream when it knocks me off my feet, and I'm going woo.
Wow. So remember, he said life jacket first, though, guys.
Yes,
Listen to that.
you know, and just be aware of your surroundings. Don't feel something, do something you don't feel comfortable doing. Um, Obviously, if you're going to go to a new place, go to that place with somebody who's been there before, so you can use their experience as your experience.
Right.
And that's with anything. Um,
Mhm.
if I mean,
No, that makes
especially
sense.
going to a blind area that I've never been to by myself, I would be
Yeah.
way more cautious than I would be as going there with somebody who's been there a few times. Uh,
True.
yeah, because all the stuff I've done fishing and stuff, if I tell you, you say, oh, if they can do it, I can too, to a certain extent. You never see, look, you never see me climbing out in the trees with Wilson trying to fish for drowned trout because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Dude, my ass will be fell in the water and the stuff that he tries to do.
I saw you
But
do that at Chattahoochee River. You didn't go out that far in Chattahoochee.
no, I didn't because I
Yeah.
had only been down there a couple of times. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. But if we went down there fishing 10 times, I'd be out there in the middle of the river throwing a freaking fly rod instead of up there on the bank throwing freaking worms.
Huh.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Hey, that video may be coming soon. We're gonna get out there and start catching some trout pretty soon. So
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, I
You know,
I think the Chattahoochee River, I don't think I've seen anybody target gar there. What do you think about Chattahoochee with Longnose Gar? I'm
I
sure
think
they're in there somewhere.
that in the point that we fish for trout, that we'd be lucky to catch one there.
Yeah, no, I'm saying just in
In
general,
general,
Chattahoochee.
I don't know that. I'm sure the Chattahoochee River is a long river. It goes all the way, doesn't it go
Yeah.
all the way through Atlanta? I can tell
Hmm.
you this though: if we catch any gar of the Chattahoochee River downstream towards Atlanta, we can't eat them.
We can't eat them. Yeah, they bad.
Nah,
Yeah.
I even feel bad about eating the trout out of it right there at the dam.
Yeah.
I do because that's Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
Lake Lanier is not clean, so I
Right.
mean, whatever's coming off that dam is going to be all the motor oil and stuff. Look, even at the Yona Dam, we're eating these fish. I noticed the last time we were there that there's oil in the water when they open the dams
I
up.
gotta see that. I didn't see that. I gotta check
No,
that out. I didn't see that.
I mean, the water can't be filtered when it comes through the dam. It's just running through turbines. So you're getting all the overflow off that lake coming straight into that river. You know, whether it's bad for you, you said you've looked it up, as far as it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Um,
So I didn't see it as being bad. I always look up the how they treat the water in every lake or everywhere I fish. I always try to see what's the standard of the water. So they
look,
give you the recommendations on what
yeah.
to
I mean,
eat.
and I remember I looked it up on the Chattahoochee River when we started fishing for trout with Wilson, or what I did.
Uh-huh.
And it was telling me at certain points on the river, it wasn't exactly where we were fishing at, but it would
Uh-huh.
downstream from there. Do not eat the fish in this part of the river because there's like all these plants and stuff in Atlanta that dump stuff into the Chattahoochee River. But you got to figure in a river, everything's going downstream. So
Right.
if you have a plant on a river somewhere, Everything they dump in the river, it's going downstream. It's not going upstream. It's never
Right.
going upstream. So if you can get above points like that, I guess the place. I mean, I'm not gonna eat fish if I'm fishing in a place that's got warnings like you shouldn't eat these fish except
Right.
once a month, and I can catch fish in different places enough. But I don't need to. Now, will I still
Yeah.
go there and catch them? And yeah, and I have a hard time throwing them back. I don't want to throw them back.
Hey,
Everybody,
those trout
but
were good to me.
everybody wants to do catch and release. I do too, but it's so hard, dude. I lived so
Yeah, I
many.
catch and release in
Look,
grease.
look, I lived so many years of my life growing up. From the time I was a kid to the time I was a teenager to the time I was in my 20s, even in my 30s, that everything I caught, I kept because I ate them. Dude,
Yeah.
I told you, my grandma, if you threw a fish back when she was fishing with you, oh, she'd get on your butt.
Yeah.
Dude, she'd be eating brim this big. She clean my
What?
file. Or no, this big.
Yeah.
She catch a brim this big. She clean it, cut his head off, scale it, and flat hole, and eat it. She didn't throw
Wow.
nothing back. But you got to realize she was old enough. She lived almost during the Depression. And
Yeah.
people were eating what they caught for hunt. It was all about let's go catch some fish to eat them. It wasn't like, hey,
Right.
it was all about let's go catch fish to have fun. But no, it was like let's go catch fish to have fun, but we're eating all of them.
Right.
That
Right.
was the main goal of going on every fishing trip.
Yeah.
I've eaten so many largemouth bass in my life from the time of my dad when I was a kid. Look, him and his friend I told you about. They would go float to the Geechee River. There was two bridges about 10 miles apart. They worked swing shift together. They had an aluminum john boat with no motor on it, just paddles. And they put it in one place, and
What?
they would float the river. And dude, they'd come back with like a 48 quart cooler with 10, 15, 20 bass. And guess what they did with every single one of them they caught? We
Ate 'em.
ate them as a kid. We ate every single one of them.
Wow.
If you caught one big enough to mount, we'd mount it. Like I had two bass mounted as a kid.
Yeah.
One was like 6 pounds, one was like 8 pounds. But other than that, we ate them. Dude, my dad caught a 12-pound bass, and I showed pictures of me as a kid. We ate that bass after he showed it off to everybody around the neighborhood. Took it up to the
Wow.
store and showed people. Back then that was the thing. So now, we have phones, we have video. We don't have to keep all of those fish. We can
Right.
we can get the same notoriety and show them off to people just like we all want to do on the fish that we
Yeah.
catch. Hey, look what I caught. We don't have to keep those fish nowadays. A long time ago, like I told you, my dad when I was a kid, he told me he said he went fishing one time during the middle of the day. He said he caught one of the best stringers of bluegills he ever caught in his life. He comes home from work. It's in the middle of the day. My mama's at work. Nobody's at home. My aunt and uncle, they gone. Nobody's there. He said he drove up to the little store in the little town we lived in. He said, nobody's at the store. He said, I drove around for like 20 minutes trying to show my fish off to people, and just nobody was around. He lived in a little small town. He says, like, finally, he's like, fuck it. I just took them home and cleaned them.
Yeah. Hey, that's how it goes.
But,
Today's different world though now.
nowadays, we don't have to do that. Nowadays,
Yeah.
catch, picture, release. A lot of people do
Yeah.
that all the time. I'm not going to do that all the time because I do want to eat a lot of fish. But I have the respect for
Yeah.
fish and for the fish that are in our environments we fish in. That if I feel like if I'm hurting the population, like Sandy Creek, dude. First year I fished at Sandy Creek, I'm surprised you could catch a shell cracker out there.
Wow. Clean them out.
Well, I probably caught 600.
Wow. Yeah. You put a
Yeah.
dent in them for sure.
Now, would I keep going out there year after year and doing that? No, I wouldn't.
No, you couldn't sustain it. You couldn't
I
sustain
wouldn't do that. That was the first year I started back fishing, and I wouldn't do that now. So.
I'm terrified of murky water.
Oh yeah. He made that comment. So probably where he lives at, there's probably alligators too.
Yeah.
So I grew up fishing in ponds and places that had alligators. So alligators don't usually mess with you unless there's a big one. But I have been scared out of my wits. I waded out to my titties in lily pads
Yeah.
and look up around the water, and there's gator heads popping up all around you. And you know what I did? I went
What?
straight to the bank.
I'm telling you, beeline.
Beeline to the bank. All right, I'm not fishing. It's getting dark. These alligators aren't eating me.
For real.
Now, would they? Probably not. But I'm not going to attempt that shit.
Yeah, they'll try to take a piece out of you if they get hungry enough.
Here where we live at, there's nothing that we have to worry about. Now you have to worry about
Yeah.
copperhead.
Water snake, yeah,
Man,
snakes.
man, we don't even have cottonmouths where we live at.
Right.
Dude, look in South Georgia and South Carolina, they have cottonmouth moccasins. Uh, very different breed than the freaking the ones we have here.
Yeah.
They get big and fat, and they're aggressive too. They'll come eat your fish off your stringer while you're fishing,
Wow.
and they're poisonous. And you got
Yeah.
alligators, and rattlesnakes. Not rattlesnakes around the water too much, but just in general. Here where we live, dude, you can get out there in the water. You can swim all day long in the lakes around here. You never, ever, ever gonna have anything bite you. Today it's gonna bite you. Now
Right.
you go to south, over South Carolina, on the coast and South Georgia. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, it's
You
different.
could get out there and swim on the inner tube all you went to all day, and you might get eaten by an alligator.
That's crazy.
We don't have to deal with that here. There's nothing
No,
in the
we
water
don't.
where we wade at. The only obstacles we're facing where we wade at is the rocks and the current and the slippery feet. You know,
Yeah.
that's we're worried about falling down and hurting ourselves. We ain't worried
No,
about nothing biting us. So,
right. No, I understand that, CGL. He said my thing is realistically, I know enough about the water to know there are only 1 to 2 maybe dangerous things in the water near me, and it's unlikely I will run into them, but I can't shake the fear. Hey, that's an appropriate fear. You're in waters where things can really get you, so uh, that makes a lot of sense. I totally understand that. But yeah, we're gonna really have to do a segment on, like different types of fishing. What do you?
and look, the only way to overcome your fears, and I've done this a lot in my past, especially when I was younger, with stuff like that, is to expose yourself to it and get yourself out there in waters where there's not a lot of stuff that's going to hurt you, where it puts yourself to the peak where you're just a little bit scared. And then you get out there and you do it over and over again, and you become a little bit less scared. And you get a little bit more comfortable with the stuff that you're in. And that's the only way that's the only way to overcome your fear, is to face it and put yourself in that situation over and over and over again, in a situation where you feel comfortable to the point where you're not scared of it anymore.
Mm.
And that works for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
That's a fact. That's how you call fear. That is. It's true. Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. But we're gonna really we gonna get ready to wind down, guys. Come to an end and stuff. But we're gonna get ready. You guys will see an upcoming show. We'll have CGL on as well as Sunfish Assassin. If we can get Wilson on as well, that'll be pretty cool. But we're going to be doing a lot of upcoming conversations. We're going to talk about different fish, different species. We're going to talk about the fall transition right now where we're in. And then, the fall transitioning from the summer. And then we're talking about the fall, what we're going to be doing in the fall, how we're going to target the fish. We're going to wade, what we're going to do into the winter. So this is going to be ongoing. We're going to try to stay consistent with Mondays and Thursdays.
We're not waiting in the wintertime. Well, I mean, we're not waiting in the winter. I mean, we put the waders on, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not waiting like up to no. I'm waiting up to my waist at the highest. Yeah, waiting is getting in the water and walking through it. I'm wading up to here, and I'm not doing it.
Hey, look, wading in the Chattahoochee River in waders and wool socks is cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. It exactly is. Yeah. Yeah, but I want to say just officially, thanks, George, Sunfish Assassin, my good friend, for coming up, talking about Longnose Gar. Hopefully, we dispelled a lot of little myths, educated you about the fish, and maybe made it a little bit more realistic for you to go target them, right? And deal with them in an appropriate manner, and not get so frustrated with them. Hopefully, we did a good job, guys. We really, really appreciate everyone for stopping in, checking it out, and for everyone who's watching this after it's pre-recorded. After the live is recorded, thank you guys for stopping in and showing love. Give me a like, thumbs up as well, and then I'll pass it over to Sunfish Assassin for his closing remarks.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's been great. That's not even what I was gonna say. I'm always sidetracked, but yeah, it's been great being up here. We definitely will do it again. Every time we do it, we're gonna get better.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, tell CGL if he wants to hit me up on Facebook. My name's George Whittington. I have Sunfish Nation on Facebook. It's getting close to 1,000 members. If he wants to join that, and that way, if he wants to talk to me, we can talk back and forth to Lester if he wants to. I'm up for that.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for staying tuned to another episode of Fishing is Therapy. Get that therapy, boy. See y'all in the next one. Peace.